Thanks for downloading Ehnother Podcast from Ehnotherpodcast.com. Today's show can be found in many ways. iTunes, the Ehnotherpodcast.com webpage, and now can be found on Stitcher.com. You can now stream the latest show anywhere with the Stitcher app, on your computer, even on your boss's computer. Ehnother Podcast is now at your fingertips every day of the week and at your convenience. Enjoy today's episode of Warlock Wednesdays. Ehnotherpodcast.com. Not a sponsor. Hello everyone and welcome to Warlock Wednesdays. This is the Warlock Hour. I am your host, Razor, and I've got a decent sized show this week. Although it may be a little shorter than previous weeks, I do have some good information for you. Let's kick things off, as we always do, with the comic book releases for this coming week. And from DC Comics we have Batgirl, number 23. Batman, also number 23. Justice League of America, number 7. Smallville, Season 11, number 16, and Suicide Squad, number 23. From Marvel this week, we have Deadpool, number 14. Dexter, part 1 of a 5-part miniseries, number 1. So, obviously, I said number 1 a lot of times there. Infinity, number 1 of a 6-part miniseries. Uncanny X-Men, number 10, and Wolverine, number 8. Now, let's just take a step back. The Infinity series is getting underway this month with that Infinity number 1. For those of you interested, August has quite a few issues, with September having even more issues. For August, you should be paying attention to Infinity number 1, obviously, Avengers number 18, New Avengers number 9, and if you're interested in the tie-ins, Avengers Assemble number 18, Captain Marvel number 15, and Thunderbolts number 14. Now, when we get to September, I will give you the September issues you should be paying attention for. As I said, there are a lot more in September, so we'll wait till September gets here to get into those issues. Alright, from the independents this week, Dark Horse Comics has Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 9, number 24. From Dynamite Entertainment this week, Red Sonja, number 2. From IDW Publishing, Doctor Who, number 12. Star Trek, number 24. X-Files, Season 10, number 3. And finally, from Image Comics, Spawn, number 234. And Walking Dead, number 113. That is your comic book releases for this coming week. I hope you get the ones you want. As always, remember to leave a comment or send me an email at the Ehnother Podcast email site, and you can definitely let me know of the comics you pick up and follow every week, and I will include them in these little segments here at the beginning to let you know when your comic book is coming out. Though if you collect it, I guess you already do know, but hey, I always like to cater to the fans, so give me a message and I'll put it in. So let's move on to some box office news from this past week. Now, this is surprising. 4 new movies open this week. Well, actually, a little bit more than 4. There was quite a few others, but a lot of them being in limited release. The non-limited release ones, 4 new movies in the top 4. All 4 of them cracked into that top spot, with the number 1 spot going to Elysium. Huge battle went on this weekend between the top 3 movies. Just $7.6 million separate the top 3 movies, which when you think about it is not a lot of gap-wise, and I'll get into that just a little bit more. So Elysium brought in $29.8 million this week. Little less than it probably wanted, but still pretty darn good. We're the Millers brought in $26.4 million this week. Planes brought in $22.2 million, and Percy Jackson brought in $14.4 million. Now, as I said, I'll give you an indication of the top 3, anyways, with $7 million separating them. $6,005 per screen was the average for Planes in the 3rd spot. $9,077 per screen was the Elysium average. So that works out to just over $3,000 in average take at the screens. That's quite a chunk, but as I said, they battled it out all weekend. So let's finish off the category. The number one last week was Two Guns, drops to 5th with $11.2 million. Smurfs 2 comes in at 6 with $9.3 million. The Wolverine drops from 2 to 7 with $8 million, bringing its 3-week total to $112 million. The Conjuring falls to 8th with $6.6 million. Despicable Me 2 has $5.9 million in the 9th spot, and rounding out the top 10, $3.6 million is, as I said, Grown Ups 2, and that is it. I do want to make 2 honorable mentions. In 13th place, a little independent film called Shania Express brought in $2.2 million to stay in 13th, or to grab the 13th spot. This is on 196 screens, bringing in an average of $11,329 per screen. Pretty darn good for a little low-budget film. The other honorable mention this week on 118 screens in 28th place is the based on a true story Lovelace. It brought in $184,536. Not a lot when you think about it, but considering it's a movie about a porno, that's pretty impressive that it overtook some other films in its wake, I guess. So let's look at the upcoming releases for this coming week. And we have 4 new movies opening this week. We have Jobs, starring Ashton Kutcher, which is based on the real-life story of Steve Jobs, the creator of Apple Computers. Kick-Ass 2, which I'm really looking forward to seeing Chloe Grace Moretz kick some more ass. And, of course, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's been rumored to want to play Quicksilver in the upcoming Avengers 2 movie. Lee Daniels is The Butler, which is starring Forrest Whitaker. And then, of course, Paranoia, starring Gary Oldman, Harrison Ford, and Liam Hemsworth. So that's your 4 movies coming out this week. So let's move on to some entertainment news. Jeff Wadlow continues to tease the X-Force movie. He was talking to Bleeding Cool, not a sponsor by the way, and had this to say: tonally, it will fit in. This is referring to whether X-Force is going to fit into the already X-Men universe. It will fit in quite well with all the other movies, but then I think the other movies cover a wide range of tones. It's certainly not going to be tonally similar to Kick-Ass. I hope we'll have what fans of X-Force will expect. I think it'll be a little edgier. I think you'll see some characters with different takes on what it means to be a mutant. There will be some gray areas that the movies haven't yet been explored. It won't be as overt. This movie is more about the gray areas in between. I'm going to take some big ideas from the X universe and flip them, I think, in an interesting way. So, again, there's still a lot of talk about the X-Force movie, but no movement on it yet. Alright, let's move on to Expendables 3 news. Now, Bruce Willis has been with the Expendables for the first 2 films. He was to be paid $3 million to do Expendables 3, which is pretty lofty sum for 4 days of work. And literally, that's all he would have worked. He would have flown into where they were shooting, shot for 4 days, been paid $3 million, gone home, that's it. He would have had no waiting, no other stuff to do. He would have just come in, shot for his 4 days. He wouldn't have to wait around for people, and then he'd be gone. $3 million. But no. He's greedy and lazy. He wanted to be paid $4 million for 4 days, basically making $1 million a day, and he wanted to do less work. So, Mr. Stallone has made a decision, and Bruce Willis is out, and quickly after that, Harrison Ford is in. So Bruce Willis is no longer part of Expendables 3, and Harrison Ford will be joining the cast that already includes the likes of, obviously, Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jason Statham, Kellen Lutz, Ronda Rousey, however you say that, Victor Ortiz, let's see, who else? there's a few other returnees, and the rumors, of course, of Jackie Chan possibly being involved, Wesley Snipes, Nicolas Cage, and Mila Jovovich. Now, continuing on with Expendables 3 news, it is confirmed that Mel Gibson and Antonio Banderas are joining the huge cast, and we are still waiting on word for those other names, as I said. So that's what's going on in the world of the Expendables. Speaking a little bit about Harrison Ford, it looks like their potential may be a fifth Indiana Jones film. That's right. We've seen the character develop and grow over a period of time. This is Harrison Ford speaking in an interview with the newspaper known as The Telegraph. Again, not a sponsor. And it's perfectly appropriate and okay for him to come back again with a great movie around him where he doesn't necessarily have to kick as much ass. To me, what was interesting about the character was that he prevailed, that he had courage, that he had wit, that he had intelligence, that he was frightened, and he still manages to survive. That I can do. What do you think? Do you think the world is ready for another Indiana Jones movie? I know a lot of people did not like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so it's going to be tough to see where things go from there. Alright, WWE Studios and Lionsgate have decided they're going to make a movie sequel. A sequel to the movie known as See No Evil. The WWE superstar known as Kane will reprise his role as Jacob Goodnight, and this movie will actually be set in a city morgue, if I'm to be correct. And the movie is going to be directed by the Soska sisters, Jen and Sylvia, who did the movie American Mary. For those of you who haven't seen it, please check it out. Very good movie. And the Soska sisters, I think, are great to take on this horror release because the first one didn't do great, but this one now has the potential to be better. As I said, it's going to take place in a morgue, and I guess we're going to have to see where the killing spree goes from there. Moving on, Kevin Feige, from Marvel, president of Marvel Studios, has said that they have plans for the future. Plans that include all the way up to the year 2021. He says, I could arguably say what we're planning for the year 2021. Will that happen? I don't know, but we planned for 2015 in 2006, and it's happening. So, whether it's 5 years ago, we looked at our plan, we knew that Avengers was going to work, the movies had to stand alone. We now have to prove that the studio, that we're more than just these 5 characters, just these 5 franchises. Now, it has been hinted in the past, especially by me here, that Phase 3 will include the likes of Doctor Strange and the Black Panther. I personally think that this is definitely something they need to strive for. Also, we've seen that 2017 is the likely release date for Marvel's The Avengers 3. So, what's planned? Apparently a lot, but we'll have to wait and see if their plans come to fruition. Alright, for you Paranormal Activity fans, as I am not one, you will be getting 2 movies in the year 2014. Already announced, Paranormal Activity has moved their normal October setting for Paranormal Activity 5 to come out in January. They've now taken a Latino-themed spin-off called Paranormal Activity The Marked Ones, and it is going to be described as a cousin to the franchise. It is scripted by Christopher Landon and will feature a Latino cast and will offer a storyline rooted in a Catholic-based investigation into the supernatural. And this will come out in October of 2014. So, the January 3rd release will... Oh, sorry, I've reversed that. The January 3rd release will be the Marked Ones one, and Paranormal Activity 5 will be the October 24 release. So instead of coming out in this year, in October, like Paranormal Activity 5 was supposed to, it is now coming out next October with this cousin, Paranormal Activity, the Marked Ones, coming out in January. I don't like them, so I don't really care, but you know what? There might be people out there listening who actually enjoy those movies. I certainly do not. I think they're a waste of time. For those of you who've seen the movie Now You See Me, I hope you enjoyed it because it is getting a sequel. The movie has grossed so far 115.6 million domestically and 119.3 million internationally, and the movie only cost 75 million to make. When you have those kinds of numbers, and you can get the cast back, and I think that's key in this movie, if you can get the main cast back, I say go for it. I think Lionsgate definitely has something on their hands that could potentially be pretty good. Okay, got a rumor for you. It looks like Jim Carrey's been hanging around the Amazing Spider-Man set. For Amazing Spider-Man 2, he has been there on a couple of days where filming has been going on. Now, the rumor is that he may be playing Cletus Cassidy. Now, everybody jumped right to the conclusion and put right in the headlines, Jim Carrey rumored to play Carnage in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, you know what? It's shitty reporting to do that. But it's what sites and what newspapers and what, well, not so many people read newspapers, but it's what people do to hook you. They say that the person's going to be playing a character when they're not. They're going to be playing the character that becomes Carnage in the comic books. Cletus Cassidy. That does not mean that Carnage is going to be in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, or for that matter, that he's going to be in Amazing Spider-Man 3. The character of Cletus Cassidy is one that could be a very cameo appearance, which is what it looks like it could be. And I have said on numerous occasions, I don't think they're going to do the symbiote suit as they did in the comics, where it is a alien life form. They are going to do the symbiote suit, I think, more along the lines of the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. Did I say ultimate or alternate? Well, I meant ultimate. No matter what I said, I meant Ultimate Spider-Man. If you've watched the cartoon, the animated series, Ultimate Spider-Man, you can see what I'm talking about. The suit was developed by Oscorp. And that, to me, seems a lot more feasible in this world of Spider-Man. And that's why I do not see Carnage till possibly the third or fourth movie. Because you have to remember, Amazing Spider-Man 4, which already has been announced, may not necessarily be a Spider-Man movie. It just may involve that world. Which could mean a Venom movie where we can see Carnage, and who knows. I just don't believe headlines anymore. They are misleading, and when you don't look at all the facts, they are misinforming you. And I'll get to another one of those in just a little bit. Okay, so let's move on to other Marvel news. This one back into the main Marvel Cinematic Universe, that being the one that is held at Disney. Vin Diesel is rumored to be voicing the Guardian of the Galaxy's Groot. Now, for those of you saying, oh, I can't believe they got this guy to voice Groot. Groot really doesn't have many lines. His most famous line, and the line that he says the most, is, I am Groot. For those of you who haven't seen the movie Iron Giant, well, you should. It's a great movie. It's an animated movie, but it's a great movie. Vin Diesel did the voice of the Iron Giant and didn't have much to say in that one either, and fulfilled the shoes nicely. I think this is actually perfect casting, because for those of you who don't like Vin Diesel, you don't have to see him. For those of you that do, you at least get to hear him. And while this is still rumor, it is slightly confirmed, but slightly not. Here is what Vin Diesel himself had to say. I'm an actor. Not everything has to be the most obvious choice, and sometimes the best thing you can do, as far as Steven Spielberg and his advice to me, is to defy expectations. So if everybody thinks you're going to go for this one thing, and you flip it entirely and go for the strangest Marvel character, it's interesting. And when something is interesting, it's inspiring. And then he went on to say, the last thing they are is mad, in reference to Marvel Studios. I'm pretty open, but I have been secretive about this. I went to Comic-Con and I got blasted while I was on the Hall H panel for Riddick. Someone asked a Marvel question. I couldn't say anything because of that secrecy. A lot of actors these days, especially when it's big movies like this, sign an NDA or a non-disclosure agreement, and they really cannot say a word without getting sued. They will lose millions and millions of dollars if they say anything. So, he has not come out and confirmed that he's Groot, but he hasn't denied it either because he can't say one way or another. I think he is, and I'm looking forward to that film when it comes out next August in 2014. Alright, one of the big R's in Hollywood is a reboot. And this next little bit is about a reboot for a Christian-themed movie. That's right, the Left Behind series, better known as starring the former, I can't even think of the name of the show. Why can't I think of the name of the show? Well, it stars, it formerly starred, of course, I'm losing my mind. Kirk Cameron. Oh my gosh. It starred Kirk Cameron, who played the lead character for 3 movies. Well, this is getting a reboot and now has a new casting. Apparently, Ashley Tisdale, who is going to star in the Left Behind series, is now being replaced by Cassie Thompson. She is known from Big Love and Switched at Birth, and she'll be joining the cast with Nicolas Cage and Chad Michael Murray. Thompson will be playing Chloe Steele, the daughter of Cage's Ray Steele character, and after millions of people suddenly disappear from the Earth, Chloe wanders America to find any remaining members of her family. Chad Michael Murray will be playing the role of journalist Cameron Buck Williams, and as I said, this is a remake or a reboot of the Left Behind franchise. Alright, Cymbeline. Cymbeline is based on a Shakespearean play which is being turned into a modern adaptation. They've added new cast members. They already have Ethan Hawke, Ed Harris, and Mila Jovovich. They now also have Anton Yelchin and Dakota Johnson. So, this is a movie that's being set to film this summer. In fact, this month in New York City, where it will be... let's see. Just want to read a little bit about it. Cymbeline unfolds as an epic battle between dirty cops and a drug-dealing biker gang set in a corruption-riddled 21st century America. Said to be in the vein of Sons of Anarchy and in the style of Romeo and Juliet, it offers a fresh take on a universal story of love, betrayal, and revenge. And what Shakespearean play or adaptation thereof doesn't include all of those? Now, I said earlier I was going to have another article where the title is very misleading and kind of bullshitty. Christian Bale offered $50 million to return as Batman in Justice League. That was the article that shattered the internet all this week and parts of last. Folks, this is absurd and untrue. This is based on a book that cost you $2.99 to own on Amazon.com. They are not a sponsor, by the way, Amazon, and neither is this book. The name of the book, or ebook, is Batman, or Beyond Batman, the unauthorized true story of Christian Bale and his Dark Knight dilemma. Now, first of all, the key word in there is unauthorized, which means this guy has no idea what he's writing about. He just picked numbers at random and said that Warner Brothers has offered the actor a whopping $50 million. Now, anybody who's worth their weight in salt, or I just said that wrong. Anybody that can do any research knows this to be not true. Christian Bale has not been offered $50 million by Warner Brothers or any other offer at all. Warner Brothers is currently casting a Batman for their Man of Steel 2, which I'm calling Man of Steel 2 World's Finest, for that movie. And that Batman will then continue on into the Justice League movie. They're trying to build a DC cinematic universe, much like Marvel has already done. Now, they're doing it differently than Marvel, but they're still trying to build a cinematic universe. That cinematic universe cannot include Bale because that trilogy, while good, is not a part of this new universe. It's the first movie of this DC universe was Man of Steel. Whether you liked it or hated it, I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. I enjoyed the movie. It was a good movie. It wasn't a great movie. It wasn't a Superman movie. There are things about it that tick me off. That's not to say that I did not enjoy it. I actually enjoyed the movie. As much as I've bashed it, I enjoyed the movie. And I will see Man of Steel 2 World's Finest when it comes to theaters in a few years. I believe 2015, so a couple of years. But it is impossible for anybody to say that Christian Bale will be back as the Dark Knight in Justice League. Warner Brothers has already said they're moving on. Christian Bale said he's not doing Dark Knight ever again, playing Batman ever again. He will not don the cowl ever again. Nolan is done with the universe. He is serving as an executive producer for Man of Steel 2. That means nothing because, as I said in a previous podcast, our executive producers don't really do anything. So he's going to have no input and no further involvement directly with this franchise. So for all you Christian Bale lovers out there, give it a rest. This article did definitely what it was supposed to, and was attract people to sites so that their sites get hits. That was all this article was meant to do, and that's exactly what it did. And the internet crumbled, so to speak. Now I want to touch on a topic that's a little bit personal. Everyone in their lives has not fantasies. How do I want to put this? Everyone in their lives has people that they look up to, people that inspire them, people that they would consider, not necessarily idols, but definitely people who were role models and influential in their lives. Whether it's somebody you know personally or somebody who's inspired you in an entertainment industry or a teacher or something like that. You all have people that you look up to. Now, one of the people that I look up to and that has inspired me, in fact, inspires me to do these podcasts that I do now, is a man named Kevin Smith. Now, Kevin Smith is probably well known around the world for making the Clerks movies, with Clerks, Chasing Amy, Mallrats, Dogma, Clerks 2, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Jersey Girl. What other movies he's made? Red State. He's made many movies, right? He's also done a lot of podcasting. He's also done a lot of charitable work. He's also done so much in the world of podcasting, so much so that he basically runs an entire network where there's I don't even know how many podcasts, because that's how many there are, but he at least works on 4 of them directly, and most of them indirectly. I'm actually more than 4. Okay, let's see. He does Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. He does Hollywood Babylon. He does Plus One. He does Fat Man on Batman. He does Smodcast. So that's 5 right there. I mean, he works his ass off. He's a self-made man. He made his first movie using a bunch of credit cards for like $30,000, just a little bit under that, and went on to make movies because it was something that he loved. He wrote a book about how he got to where he was. And one of the things in his book is, why not? And the whole thing is that whenever you want to do something in life, people always say, well, why do you want to do that? Well, why not do that? Why not do something you love? And Kevin Smith has been a big inspiration in my life. And recently, I was basically torn down for liking Kevin Smith. Well, you know what? You can't tell me who I can like and who I can look up to. Do I go around tearing down your idols? Well, unless it's Justin Bieber, the answer is no. But I'll tear down Justin Bieber just because he shouldn't be an idol. people who accomplish things on their own, people who can put themselves out there, take risks, and succeed, are people that I look up to. Kevin Smith, whether you like him or you don't, is an inspiration to me. So you can hate him all you want, but don't hate on me because I like him. Hate him in your own way. I don't care. But don't start tearing me down because of who I like. I think he's a great man that has done great things with little to do with anything from the outside world. He's worked very hard to make himself his own man. He's from New Jersey, for crying out loud. Not that New Jersey's a really bad place, but how many famous people can you name from New Jersey? And if you say one member of the cast of Jersey Shore, you should be shot. Because most of them are not from Jersey in realness, but that's besides the point. Kevin Smith has launched careers, whether you like it or not. He has made not great movies, but enjoyable movies that are fun and entertaining. He's done some very interesting work when he's done his movies, especially recently with Red State and Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie, where he himself was the producer or the distributor by taking the film out on the road to different locations, getting people to pay a little bit extra for a ticket to watch the movie, and then not only do you get to watch the movie, you get to sit down and have a Q&A session with Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith. That is huge. He did the same thing with Red State when he took that out on tour, and each time he was in a different city, he had different cast members with him, as many as he could, in the different cities, and he took it out, and he did it all himself to prove that it can be done. Yes, you don't make as much money that way. But he's not in the business of making money anymore. He's in the business of doing what he loves. And what he loves right now, most of all, is podcasting. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing podcasting. And for me, that is just huge in and of itself. So before you tear me down because of who I like, maybe you should get to know why I like that person so much. Because that person has been a big influence in my life. And the person that did this, I've already ranted about and probably said a lot of things that I shouldn't have, but you know what? I don't care. Because screw him. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know why I like that person, that celebrity. In this instance, it is a celebrity. He doesn't know why I admire him. You don't tear someone down because you don't know. Moving on. Actually, right now, I'm going to take a little break, recover, before we get into the sports.
Hi, I'm Rob Succhetto, and you're listening to Ehnother Podcast.com. Hi, I'm Rob Succhetto, creator of Zombie Portraits. You can check out Zombie Portraits at zombieportraits.com.
And, as always, you can check out Rob Succhetto's work at zombieportraits.com. So, as I said, we're getting into sports. Just some brief news out of the hockey world. Just thought it was a little interesting. Doug Gilmour, who is one of my favorite Leafs players of all time. In fact, he's the reason I joined the Maple Leafs side of things. When he first got traded to the Maple Leafs, I did not have a favorite team. I became a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs because of Doug Gilmour, and I'm now a diehard Leafs fan thanks to Doug Gilmour. Well, right now, he is the general manager of the Kingston Frontenacs of the Ontario Hockey League. Well, this past Wednesday, or last Wednesday, I guess it was, but I couldn't record it because, I'm recording later on. There was a trade, and the trade was Doug Gilmour trading his own son, Jake Gilmour, to the Niagara Ice Dogs in a big trade, but not involving too many great people other than the fact that he traded his son. So we're not sure how Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas is going to go around the Gilmour household right now, but hopefully there's a strong family there, and that Jake can forgive his dad for trading him to a different team. Want to touch a bit on the Sochi Olympics in Russia. In Russia, they have very high anti-gay laws. Basically, Russia intends to enforce its laws against visiting LGBT, that's lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender athletes, trainers, and fans, meaning anyone even so much as waving a rainbow flag would be arrested, held for weeks, and then deported. Now, given this position, the Olympic Committee, the IOC, must do the right thing, protect its athletes and the fans, and move the 2014 Winter Olympics out of Russia. Some celebrities have gone on board with this, most notably George Takei, George Takei, who many of you might know from Star Trek playing Lieutenant Sulu. He himself is a gay man, and he's definitely advocating that the Olympics be moved, and he suggested even moving it back to Vancouver, since Vancouver is the most recent city to host the Olympics, and their facilities are still in good condition, and when they would have the least amount of time to get ready for 2014 of the 2014 games. He said it would be much better moving the games than boycotting them, which is definitely an option. There was a boycott, obviously, in 1932, when I believe a few of the Russian countries in that area did not go to Los Angeles games, and then again in 1936, when the Western world basically didn't want to go over into Germany when they hosted the Olympics. So, boycott would technically punish the athletes who have trained very hard for these games. I mean, they only happen every 4 years, so it's puts a lot of pressure on them. I want to read a quote. I'm just going to find it from Takei's blog. First of all, he says Russia's ban, he said, it's propaganda of non-traditional sexual relations, and its imposition of heavy fines directly contravenes the IOC's fundamental principles, and he said intolerance wouldn't be accepted if it were aimed at Jews, Roman Catholics, or Muslims, and it should be the same for the LGBT community. Other people to get involved in this is the writer Stephen Fry, and here's what he had to say. He wrote a letter to his British Prime Minister, who is David Cameron right now, and the executives at the IOC, and he said, we cannot let them give Russian President Vladimir Putin the approval of the civilized world. It is simply not enough to say that gay Olympians may or may not be safe in their village. The IOC absolutely must take a firm stance on behalf of the shared humanity it is supposed to represent against the barbaric fascist law that Putin has pushed through the Duma. He wrote on and said, let us not forget that Olympic events used not only to be athletic, they used to include cultural competitions. Let us realize that in fact, sport is cultural. It does not exist in a bubble outside society or politics. I think both men make very good points. I think that I don't know if they can be moved. I don't know if they will be moved. I just know that as someone who has lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered friends, that if I knew any athletes or fans of athletes or friends and family of athletes or even trainers that were going over there, I'd be worried for them. And that is not something that you should have to deal with at an Olympic Games. So we'll have to pay attention to that and see what happens there. Moving on to some NFL preseason news. There was a whole slate of preseason games this past weekend, and let's take a look at some points. First of all, we're going to look at some quarterback controversies or battles going around in the league. Specifically, we're going to start with the New York Jets, where, of course, Mark Sanchez every year seems to be battling for his job. Well, this year, he's battling against Geno Smith. Sanchez did look decent against the Detroit Lions. However, he threw a boneheaded pick that resulted in a touchdown directly, and Geno Smith didn't do enough to make any more impressions because he did leave with an ankle injury. Now, there was only one real serious injury this week, and that was a safety out of the Washington Redskins camp. He was a rookie. His name is Philip Thomas, and he's done for the year. That's another player done for the year, but he was a rookie, so he wasn't as well known as some of the other ones who are done. But it's still another injury, and it calls into question whether or not some of these people are actually preparing enough for their preseason and football seasons. But anyways, back to New York. Sanchez is not pulling away at the moment, and Smith is, while slowed in camp, has still performed very well. So who knows what's going to happen there. Over in Jacksonville, it's Blaine Gabbert versus Chad Henne. Blaine Gabbert threw 10 times against in his season opener and gained only 19 yards out of those 10 tries. So Chad Henne is right hot on his heels, and Coach Gus Bradley will definitely have to take a look at both those players. Over in Philadelphia, it's Michael Vick holding on to his job, and it's his job to lose for Nick Foles, who's coming in and done pretty well against the New England Patriots this past week. But unfortunately, fortunately for Vic, he's still holding on to his job, and he hasn't lost it yet. But as I said, it's his job to lose. Moving over to the most exciting one for me, over in Buffalo, E.J. Manuel looked really good against the Indianapolis Colts, getting to play the whole first half due to the injury to Kevin Kolb. Kevin Kolb was touted to be the starter when he was first brought in. Then was touted to be the starter when the Bills drafted rookie E.J. Manuel. However, Manuel has been outperforming Kolb at camp. Now, Kolb is just recently injured and is not yet fully ready, but Manuel has impressed. I personally, as a Buffalo Bills fan, would like to see Manuel have the starting job. But there's still 3 preseason games to go, 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks till the start of the season, which just makes me very happy that football will be back. On the injury front, as I said, not too many serious ones, just the Philip Thomas one. A lot of sprained foots or injured foots, and most of them are going to be just a week or so to get back. Most of the players are actually back on the field. Some of them still might be a week away. Looking at depth chart news, some of the depth chart changes that could be affected by this past week's preseason games was over in Minnesota. For one thing, receiver rookie Cordarrelle Patterson, that guy has a weird first name. He was initially listed as the 4th wide receiver on the depth chart. We've had a very good week and could be moving up to the number 3 or even the number 2 spot, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Over in New England, they have a couple of spots up. LeGarrette Blount and Brandon Bolden are fighting for the rushing job, and Blount had a huge debut in the preseason for the Patriots, while Bolden was the better player last year. It wouldn't be shocking to have them both running for the team when the season starts. Also, rookie receivers Zach Sudfeld and Kenbrell Tompkins did really well in their preseason debut. Zach is a tight end. Kenbrell is a wide receiver, and both caught 4 passes in the preseason game. So they could fit into the mix. Over in Pittsburgh, Marcus Wheaton continues to impress, and he looks like he's locked into the number 3 role for wide receiver. The other rookie wideout that had a good week was DeAndre Hopkins of the Houston Texans, and he probably had one of the best plays of the weekend. So if you get a chance, you might want to check that out. So that's a look at the preseason games as they stood. Let's move over to baseball. In baseball news, we're going to look at the standings over in the American League. We have the Boston Red Sox leading with a 72-49 record. That's in the AL East. AL Central is the 69-48 Detroit Tigers, and the AL West is the Texas Rangers with a record of 69-51. 2 wildcards in the American League: Oakland with a 67-50 record. The Tampa Bay Rays have the other wildcard with a 66-51 record. Moving over to the National League, the NL East leading Atlanta Braves 73-47. Pittsburgh Steelers, nope, wrong sport. Pittsburgh Pirates have the NL Central with a 70-47 record, and the LA Dodgers holding on in the NL West with a 68-50 record. 2 wildcards, St. Louis Cardinals with a 67-50 record, and the Cincinnati Reds with a 66-52 record. Let's look at some statistics now. Your Average leaders: Miguel Cabrera of the Tigers is batting .366. Chris Johnson of the Braves, .337. Yadier Molina of the Cardinals, batting .330. Also, Mike Trout of the Angels, batting .330. David Ortiz of the Red Sox, batting .329 to round out the top 5. Your home run leaders: Chris Davis of the Orioles with 43. Miguel Cabrera of the Tigers with 37. Edwin Encarnacion of the Jays with 30. Pedro Alvarez of the Pirates with 28, and then 4 other players tied at 27. Your RBI leaders: Miguel Cabrera of the Tigers has 111, which puts him 1 ahead of Chris Davis of the Orioles, who has 110. Now, Miguel Cabrera is approximately 6 home runs, well, not approximately, is 7 home runs technically, shy of having the Triple Crown once again this year, but Chris Davis is 6 up on Miguel in home runs, and that's the one that Miguel would need to get and hold on to till the end of the year to repeat as a Triple Crown, which would be an unbelievable feat. Continue on with RBIs. Paul Goldschmidt of the Diamondbacks has 91, Edwin Encarnacion of the Jays, and Brandon Phillips of the Reds, each with 89. Your stolen base leaders: Jacoby Ellsbury of the Red Sox has 44, Everett Cabrera of the Padres has 37, and as I mentioned last week, he is done for the year, having been suspended for the remainder of the season. Rajay Davis of the Jays has 34, Starling Marte of the Pirates, and Jean Segura of the Brewers, each with 33. Your ERA leaders: Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers has a 1.88 ERA, Matt Harvey of the Mets with a 2.09, Felix Hernandez of the Mariners with a 2.28, Hiroki Kuroda of the Yankees has 2.33, and Patrick Corbin of the Diamondbacks has a 2.36. Pitching win leaders: Max Scherzer of the Tigers has 17, Bartolo Colon of the Athletics, Matt Moore of the Rays, and Chris Tillman of the Orioles all have 14, and then 4 more are tied at 13. Strikeout leaders: Yu Darvish of the Rangers has 207, that's 21 strikeouts this past week, very impressive. Matt Harvey of the Mets has 178, as does Felix Hernandez of the Mariners. Max Scherzer of the Tigers has 175, while Clayton Kershaw rounds out the top 5 of the Dodgers with 174. Your saves leaders: Jim Johnson of the Orioles with 39, Craig Kimbrell of the Braves with 37, Mariano Rivera of the Yankees with 35. Also with 35 is Joe Nathan of the Rangers, and rounding out the top 5, Greg Holland of the Kansas City Royals with 32. That is your statistics for this week, and that does not quite wrap up the show, because this coming weekend we have the WWE pay-per-view Summerslam. That's right, if you can't beat the summer heat, then slam it. And I'm going to take a look at what we have coming up and what my predictions might be for the upcoming pay-per-view. So let's just get to see what these matches are. For some reason, there we go. Alright, so going to do my best to make my predictions. We have, in the kickoff match, which will not be aired, unfortunately, at the pay-per-view, will only be aired through their, what is it called? Website / YouTube channel / I think Facebook page, which really sucks for me because I go and watch it at my theater and I don't get to see this. And unfortunately, this is looks like it could be a good match, as it's United States champion Dean Ambrose taking on Rob Van Dam, when they could have put a match like Natalya versus Brie Bella. Now, if this is for the United States Championship, which I'm not sure it is, I think it might be. Let's see. Doesn't say whether it's for the title or not. So I'm going to pick Rob Van Dam. If it's for the title, then I think Dean Ambrose might hold on to it. But if it's not for the title, then I'm picking Rob Van Dam. So that's my pick for that. Now on to the card. Natalya versus Brie Bella, which is just, in my opinion, again, it should be the kickoff match, or at least on the card early. It just ticks me off. I honestly don't care. If I'm picking the wrestler, I'm picking Natalya. She's Canadian. She knows how to wrestle. She's a better wrestler than most of the women there, so I'll go with Natalya. Cody Rhodes taking on Damien Sandow. Now, too bad I didn't get what I wanted for this. I wanted it to be basically for the Money in the Bank briefcase. That whoever won would be the Money in the Bank contract holder. It's not, unfortunately, but it should be a pretty decent match, and I expect in this case that Cody Rhodes could very well come out on top. However, my pick is going to be Damien Sandow. They did have him win the Money in the Bank briefcase at the last pay-per-view, and I don't see them having him lose at SummerSlam when they're potentially pumping him up to be a future World Heavyweight Champion. So that's why I'm picking Sandow, even though I want Cody Rhodes to win. This next match is kind of a pain in my butt, but it's going to happen. Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn will take on Big E Langston and Divas champion AJ Lee. Now, I'm torn here. I love AJ Lee. I hate Caitlyn. But I like Dolph Ziggler, and I like Big E Langston. So, I'm going to have to go, as far as who I'm cheering for, is Big E and AJ. Who do I think is going to win? I actually think Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn are going to get the win in this match. Alright, moving on to the next match. A Ring of Fire match with Kane taking on Bray Wyatt. Again, this is a match that possibly could have been in the kickoff, so I could have seen Rob Van Dam wrestle. However, I understand why it's on the main card, and in this, I actually am picking Kane to win the Ring of Fire match. Even though Bray Wyatt is new, and they always like to pump up the new guys, I think Kane wins this match. And that's why I'm picking him. World Heavyweight Championship. Alberto Del Rio takes on number one contender Christian. In my opinion, we should have had a three-way match in here. It should have been a triple threat match. Alberto Del Rio versus Christian versus somebody else. I don't like Del Rio. I've never liked Del Rio. I think he's going to keep the title. I'm rooting for Christian, but I think Del Rio wins and retains the title. CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar. The best versus the beast. I cannot stand Brock Lesnar. He comes back for a match here. He comes back for a match there. He's never on the show. CM Punk deserves this win. He will get this win. I'm picking CM Punk. WWE Championship on the line as John Cena takes on Daniel Bryan. In this match, I am completely torn. I think Daniel Bryan shows great potential to be a champion, and they've been building him up to be a champion, so much so that I think he will win the title. Still cheering for John Cena, folks. I think John Cena, as I said many times this year, I think this is John Cena's year. I don't think he loses the title till later in the year. I can see him walking away as the champion, but the way things have gone, I've seen this before. I think Daniel Bryan walks out of SummerSlam as the champion. Either that, or the McMahon family, mostly Vince, or new Raw GM Brad Maddox, gets involved, and John Cena wins because of a disqualification, or Bryan will win because of a disqualification, or something will happen where Bryan wins, but doesn't win the title. So that could be interesting. And that, folks, is another Warlock Hour, wrapping up this Warlock Wednesday, wrapping up the podcast week here on Ehnotherpodcast.com. Remember, you can check out all the shows on Ehnotherpodcast.com. That's www.ehnotherpodcast.com. And you can also find us on iTunes and on Stitcher.com. Remember, every Monday we have Another Monday with the Ehnother Podcast, Real Tuesdays with real music. Here is Warlock Wednesdays and the Warlock Hour. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope you come back next week. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I am out for this week. Catch you all later. Thanks for listening to Another Podcast from Ehnotherpodcast.com. Don't forget to go on iTunes and or download right from Ehnotherpodcast.com. That's EHNOTHER podcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Ehnother Podcast. Be sure to check back for tomorrow's show only on Ehnother Podcast, your Canadian podcast network. Ehnotherpodcast.com. Not a sponsor.